Well, thank you everybody for being here at our weekly FireStride Chat. Um, we are following a week after a really huge event in the Stride community. We recently joined the Atom Economic Zone, and this has been sort of the talk of the town as far as our transition to ICS and what those new changes look like for us up close as we're navigating through the development and engineering sides of this, and then also what this looks like for the greater community and Cosmos relationship. So Riley, I'm just curious before we jump into the specific updates that I've got on our agenda today. Did you want to give a little brief update of how ICS is feeling right now? Is there any remarkable information or notes from the last week of what this transition has looked like?
Yeah, sure. So we transitioned last Wednesday, I think. So we've been running for about a week now as an ICS chain with no hiccups. So it's been very positive so far. The ICS transition was pretty smooth. I think we covered it in more detail last week, but if anyone has questions, I can recap that maybe in the Q&A. And since then, Stride and the hub have been passing packets back and forth successfully. No issues there. Neutron has had a few hiccups about once a week related to some storage things. And we thankfully have not experienced those on Stride because we use a different version of the Cosmos SDK that helps deal with them automatically. So it's been smooth sailing. I honestly expected more issues, but very promising for future projects that might migrate to ICS.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great to hear. And I'm sure that there will be several projects that follow in these footsteps. So I'm glad to hear that it's been a smooth sailing process. And we know that that is the precedent that has been set for the community. Let's talk a little bit about, so when I was thinking about things that are kind of going on in the community this week, I saw something that caught my eye, which I thought was the cash and carry on Lavana. Which way do you say it? Lavana. I'm going to call it Lavana Protocol. But would love to hear a little bit more about what we can do with our ST Atom on the perpetual swaps market that they have set up. If you could talk us through that, maybe explain a little bit about what cash and carry is, what the strategy behind that is meant to offer to people employing it, and maybe any other thoughts that you might have on the topic.
Yeah, totally. So Lavana is a perps protocol on Cosmos. It's different than some other perps protocols. I think if you look at perps protocols across the board, you have a few different types. And mostly the differences depend on what's being used as collateral. What is a perps protocol? It's basically a options and futures trading platform where the options and futures are structured in a slightly different way than they are in traditional finance. Traditional finance, they get rolled, meaning you create a new contract every month and your pricing adjusts every month. In perpetual contracts in a perps platform in DeFi, there's no rolling, and you just hold the thing forever as long as you want to. But the price of it will adjust to the price of the underlying, meaning the price of an Atom perpetual future will adjust to the price of Atom using this mechanism called the funding rate, which basically means that if there are more people going long than short, the people going long will pay a small amount to the people going short. And if there are more people going short than going long, then the people going short will pay a small amount to the people going long. And via this mechanism, the price adjusts to the true price on the market. So if Atom is trading slightly above where it is in the perp market will pay out some incentive to traders to rebalance towards that price. That's a 10,000 foot overview of perps. Lavana has a slightly different way to do perps than DYDX or GMX. On DYDX, you collateralize with USDC. On GMX, I think you collateralize with a basket of assets that are crypto native. On Lavana, you collateralize with the same asset that you're trading. So if you create a perp for Atom, you collateralize with Atom. If you create a perp for ST Atom, you collateralize with ST Atom. So it's a lot of context there, but the reason it matters for Stride is that Levana supports perpetual futures for ST Atom and Atom as well. They are launching ST Atom soon, but they currently have Atom. They put out this article called the Cash and Carry trade on Levana, which basically explains that because of this funding rate mechanism where one side pays the other, um, you can currently go short Atom on Levana and get paid for it. Because there's so much more demand to long than short, the people who are long are paying the short sellers, and you can go short and earn money, which is very unusual. Most markets require that you pay a funding rate to go short. So what you can do using Levana is go short Atom and then separately buy ST Atom, and you've hedged out your exposure to Atom because you're short, but you just earn the yield. And it's called a carry trade. It's a common trade that's done in currency markets and traditional finance. But now we're seeing it emerge in the Cosmos ecosystem. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Thanks for breaking that down for us. And then just for clarification, one question I had is, since you said right now the way that the balance is set up, because of the funding rate mechanism, you can go short on Atom and get paid for it. Is that just because that is the current balance that is set up right now, where there's more demand or there's more people going long than going short, and like theoretically this could be opposite at some point?
Totally, yeah. It could swap. So I think if you look at the blog post, they put some numbers down. They said that there's about $18,000 worth of excess demand for going long than there is to go short. So if 18,000 more people short, then the payments will go to zero. So you will no longer get paid to short. So it's a very small amount of capacity left in this strategy. Um, and we'll see. It might reverse at some point. It'll probably flip back and forth, to be honest, depending on whether people are bullish or bearish. Scroll through the article. It's pretty cool. I think we might be doing a spaces with them later today. Perp markets are very, very exciting. They allow you to get a lot of leverage because you actually aren't holding the underlying. You're just creating a synthetic exposure to it, like future and option markets and TradFi.
What's this might be a conversation for a different time, but is there any like ethical consideration around like a synthetic security like that, or like or synthetic position, or is it kind of just for the sake of carrying out, like that's available to you just for the sake of carrying out the strategy?
Yeah, I'd say it's more of an instrument for carrying out a strategy. If you look at most hedge funds and traditional finance, they put on their trades using options and futures because they're more flexible and you can kind of chop them up and assemble them like Legos in specific ways to get exposure in the way that you want within a certain band, and you put limits on how much downside you might want to have. And it's the same here in crypto. You can kind of chop up the exposure you want and maneuver it more nimbly. But I wouldn't say there are any ethical considerations. It's just a financial engineering instrument.
That's helpful context for me. And I see Moon said in the chat that they've been having a lot of fun with Levana here. Personally, been more excited for it launching on Osmosis more so than concentrated liquidity as a retail user.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, you can get much higher leverage on Levana. So if you're a bit of a degen, you can have a lot of fun there. I've been playing around with it the last few days. The UX is good too.
Is it yeah, you said it's a solid UX, like easy to navigate?
Yeah, I found it pretty easy. I'm curious to hear about anyone in the audience too.
Yeah, feel free to share your thoughts or ideas if any of you guys have checked it out, or if you're interested in getting more details about this, feel free to message in the chat. I see TS Ray says, would be cool to see breadth of assets on Levana.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they'll have ST Atom soon. I think there will also have ST Osmo. So your gold and silver of Cosmos collateral, and then the other ST assets will hopefully be on there eventually. once they have enough liquidity in their osmosis pools.
All right, I'm gonna let some folks share in the chat. Oh, we got one question before we move on to the next bullet point is when can we get ST-ing on osmosis?
Yeah, good question. I think it is on osmosis. There's just no liquidity in the pool. So if you have ST-ing, you could LP the pool. The injective foundation is providing liquidity on Astroport on injective. That's why most of the liquidity is over there. And this is something they wanted to do because it's built on their own chain. So they want to support their own ecosystem. But community initiative could totally create a pool on osmosis. Do you want to LP there? You totally can.
Thanks for that. I'm just taking note of all this. So remember, this can always be available to everybody listening in case you need to follow up as a reference. We do keep the summaries of these logged in a place that I will talk to you about later. In the meantime, Riley, do you want to talk to us a little bit about our ST token incentive program, the one that is going to be launching August 5th? I know we're wrapping one up right now and transitioning into this one. So maybe if there's anything remarkable about that, please share with us.
Yeah, totally. I'll give that update and then one other update. So the incentive program, reading from the blog right now, it reduces the incentives by a decent amount. And this is, as we've tried to emphasize, a shift towards protocol-owned liquidity, where Evmos provides liquidity on Evmos, and Atom provides, or Cosmos Hub provides liquidity on the Cosmos Hub and on Astroport Neutron, and maybe at some point Osmosis provides liquidity on Osmosis. Juno provides liquidity on Osmosis. Every foundation and community pool provides liquidity for itself to make the sustainable design for liquid staking. And this incentive program reduces incentives in line with that vision. So you can check out the blog post and see what's going to be provided over the next 30 days. Still a ton of incentives, just a bit less than the last time. Looks like there's a question about ST-IBCX pools. Yeah, and asking about the incentives for that. Good question. Those are on the new incentive program. So I believe it's 180 stride per day on Osmosis. You can read about that in detail on blog. And then one other update from my end. There's a proposal up on Terra in line with this shift towards protocol-owned liquidity to deploy some Luna from the community pool into an Astroport pool. Yeah, check it out. And if you own some Terra, cast a vote. And that's it from my end. I'll turn it over to you for community updates, and then maybe do a Q&A somewhere.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Riley, for walking us through those updates for the day. Yep, we'll, as mentioned, there will be a recording of this, so if any of that requires you reviewing, you'll be able to do that. But I just have a couple community updates that I wanted to share with you guys before we take questions. If you do have questions, feel free to start sharing those in the chat now, and I'll get to them as soon as I'm through my points. The first thing I wanted to share with you guys, you might have seen my announcement 2 days ago, Tuesday, that we have just launched our community.stride.zone community homepage, which is honestly, in my opinion, extremely cool because this is now the one-stop shop that we have for all community resources that have sort of been available to our users in lots of different places, but not exactly consolidated in a way that is really geared towards user efficiency and the user experience on the community member side. And so feel free to take a look at this page. I'm going to open it up and just kind of quickly share with you some of the features and home buttons on here, so that way you are familiar with it as well. But you'll see at the very top is a link for all of the helpful links for every Stride website relevant link that you could possibly need. And also a direct link to the Stride Support Lab that's right there at the top of the page. You'll see plenty of updates, basic insights that are dated. Our most recent insights come from this week, so hopefully this is something that you guys can use as a reference point that is regularly up to date for you guys. We have direct links to our blogs, individual pages for every Stride staked asset, interviews, tutorials, guides, community update calls, and transcripts, audio, video, non-English content. So for if you are somebody who speaks a language that is not English and you seek resources, we have an entire library for all of the different resources we have available to non-English speaking users. I'll let you guys do the rest of the exploring on your own, but I hope that you use this as a resource for you, and that you bookmark this page, and that anytime you need something Stride community related, you can go here, because every link you could ever need will be there. The last update that I have for you guys, thank you for hearing me out on that one. A lot of people have been asking about the Stride Zeely rewards, because we have been working with the same leaderboard for the past couple of months, and we are about to have our first leaderboard reset. But I'm going to go ahead and share with you guys right here the pardon me. I'm going to share with you right here the Stride Zeely rewards plan for going forward, I guess you could say. It's quite simple, but it is, the basic idea is that leaderboard rewards for Zeely will be distributed at the last week of every month. This is normally when we do, so last week of the month, the leaderboard raffle will take place, and then the leaderboard will be reset. So I will talk to you a little bit for a moment about the raffle. So basically, if you are in the top 3 on the Zeely leaderboard, you will get 100 USDC each, which is super awesome. That means that top 3 spaces is extremely competitive. A good chunk of our community incentivized budget will go to this, so try to get in that top 3. If you are in the 50 positions following the top 3, so number 4 through 53 on the leaderboard, the 50 following positions, you'll be entered into a random raffle to have a chance to win $50 USDC. And 5 raffle winners will be chosen. So even if you don't make it into the super competitive top 3 because you just haven't completed 5 million quests, if you're in the top 50, then you still have a chance to win a pretty good amount of USDC, in my opinion. So please go to our Zeely quest board, complete the quest, and just be prepared emotionally, mentally for the quest board to fully reset on Monday. If you have questions about this, you can ask me in the general chat. But yeah, that's what I got for you. Thanks for listening. Any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. But I will say I'll invite questions of any kind up now. We still have a couple minutes left before we have to end the call. So if you have questions about anything that we've talked about today or anything we have not talked about today, please feel free to share that in the chat now. I see a couple folks typing. It's the internet meme of crypto bro and sis.
Yeah, come speak.
Yeah, absolutely. If you raise your hand, I'll invite you up.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine.
Yeah, something happens with my speakers when I do this. I can faintly hear you, but as long as you can hear me, I think I can explain. So thanks, Summer, and thanks, Riley, for the updates. I have been discussing with many community members with regards to creating a strategic pool that can be like really tiny amount of our income goes towards buying Stride from open market and putting it in a pool that can be utilized, for example, in a rainy day or something that community wants to do or the foundation wants to do. The idea is, so I know a few of you guys don't like the idea of burning Stride tokens. So I proposed alternate to that, which was to basically create a pressure, a buy pressure on Stride, where any person gonna have to compete with the Stride protocol to actually buy Stride. And that can go into strategic pool. Community can either vote to, if they want to burn it, to decrease the supply, they can do that. If they don't want to burn it and they want to use it for strategic initiatives, could be some kind of dividend payment. I know there is a lot of legal issues in that, but I'm just throwing out these ideas in open. So I'm curious to see if there has been any discussions internally with regards to the ideas that I proposed and a few other people proposed. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. Rainy day fund definitely makes sense, and a lot of protocols around DeFi have done this. They build up a treasury, and then whether that's in a community pool or some governance gated smart contract vault that can be deployed for various use cases that can be wise. I think Stride's current tokenomics design doesn't do that, but it's possible it could in the future. I think it would just have to go through governance, and you'd have to find a source of revenue to seed that pool. Now, I will point out Stride does have a community pool, and the community pool shown on Minscan is not the full community pool. We're working with Minscan to get them to show the full community pool. But if you go to the tokenomics document, you can see the allocations towards the community pool. They're larger than what's shown on Minscan. So that's one form of reserve or rainy day fund. But yeah, it could be cool to grow that over time with the fees that are earned by the protocol as well. You just have to go through a governance vote. It's a cool idea. You could add in the governance vote that pool could maybe not be touched for a year, so it sits there, just maybe accumulating inflation or waiting for a rainy day when it's needed.
And then theoretically, Riley, just a question about governments and actually, like, if this were to be something that he actually wanted to turn into a proposal, what is the quick process would be just open up a proposal or draft a proposal and post it onto the forum and gauge interest this way?
Yeah, you can put a forum post up. Would recommend talking with some community members first to make sure that you collect all the best thinking about this and put it on the forum, get some comments, and then it can go on chain if you feel like there's enough support. That's the beauty of Cosmos governance. You can basically put anything up and just have to coordinate with the other members of the Stride community.
Awesome. And Fiasra, I'm glad to hear that this is a ongoing discussion that you are having with the community. It sounds like there are people on the same page if that's something that you've already been talking to. So I encourage you to take whatever step feels right to you. But I think, guys, we are just a minute away from our ending time. So just want to say thank you again to everybody who was here today. I think we will close questions for now. And if you do have any questions, of course, the chat is always there for you. And the conversation can always be ongoing in written form. But thinking of you guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day. And yeah, we'll be here. Reach out if you need anything.
Yeah, please do. Thanks for joining, everyone. Talk to you next week.
See you next week. Bye, you guys.